going on, Voltrons? Happy Friday and welcome inside the vault for a Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. It is May 2nd. I'm Bobby Trossich. She's Sarah Ellison. We're so glad to be back with you. Please like the video on your way in. Subscribe if you haven't already done so and hit that notification bell. We're coming up on 24,000 subscriptions. Also coming up on 100 channel members. If you want to officially become a Voltron, if you want to become a Voltron, you can do so by clicking on the link that's included in the show notes. There's also a link right now pinned as a comment in the live chat. So all that is what we have procedurally starting off. But content-wise, we're going to be joined by Mary Kay Cabot, Browns reporter, beat reporter for, who does she write for again? It's escaping me, but
they call themselves Cleveland.com now, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
12:30. We'll take a look as we have been this week in terms of the AFC North opponents for the Ravens and how they fared over draft weekend. So Mary Kay joins us at 12:30. But before then, Sarah, Eric DeCosta, as he typically does every year, sat down with The Lounge, the official Ravens team podcast, and really gave a tell-all interview in a lot of ways. Mark Andrews' comments, opening up about Mike Green and the homework that they did indeed do to make them feel comfortable selecting him 59th overall in the second round. He also shared yet again the classic lies and his poker face that continues, Sarah, to somehow become more and more dominant. He has an unbelievable poker face, and he had it on apparently, unbeknownst to us, this past weekend at his post-draft press conferences. So we'll get into some sound bites there. We'll have quick hits on the back end of Mary Kay. Lots to get to on this Friday. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Yeah. Third day for me trying to fight through being under the weather a little bit, but I've been to a leg workout today, pushing through. And it was refreshing to see EDC, right? It was refreshing to see EDC be a little bit more laid back because so often when he's talking, he's trying not to give away draft secrets. And while I don't know that everything he said in this kind of tell all with the guys over at the lounge was 100% honest, because he always admits to telling a few fibs here and there. But for the most part, it was good to see this, just more honest, transparent, laid back side to him now that the draft is in the rearview window.
I think we should begin with Mark Andrews. And of course, as you tweeted leading into draft weekend, he talked to ESPN.com. And one of the quotes here was the following about amid all the smoke, all the speculation in terms of whether or not he was going to be a Raven after draft weekend. And he said, quote, "At the end of the day, I think Eric DeCosta said it perfectly. He's in the business of keeping great players, and it's a business at the end of the day. You can't be surprised by anything, but I'm a Raven." And over the weekend, Sarah, as we covered really at the beginning of this week, Eric was careful. He was pretty tight-lipped in terms of the Mark Andrews related questions, but he did express confidence and all but guaranteed that Mark Andrews is going to be a Raven come 2025. I thought that he expanded a little bit on that question with Ryan and Garrett in a sit-down, informal setting, and this is what it sounded like. He talked about Mark, and he also talked about what was a very strong tight end class, and being that every single one of those players in Baltimore at the tight end position, including the fullback, are entering contract years, it's relevant. Here's Eric.
Mark is a great player.
Yeah.
And we're not really in the business of letting our great players leave unless we're going to get a lot for them, because our best team is with Mark Andrews on it. Let's face it. Our best chance to win a Super Bowl is with Mark Andrews on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think teams knew that. We had, some discussion potentially early on in the process, going back in March. And it just became apparent to me that I value Mark more than anybody else. Mm-hmm. We value Mark more than most teams, anybody else. Mm-hmm. And so based on that, we're going to keep our best players. And so, it was a really good tight end draft class this year. I think 5 or 6 guys that watching these guys, whether it's, Loveland or Warren or Arroyo or Taylor.
Yeah.
I thought the Fanning kid, Ferguson. You got 6 tight ends that really have a chance to contribute quickly. We would have considered those guys for sure, and just had 4 tight ends on the roster.
Well, and you have 3 going into contract years this year,
so we would have easily taking a tight end.
Right.
The way that those guys came off the board, I think maybe 5 of those guys came off the board, maybe, before we picked in the second round.
Yeah.
Right? Fannin might have been the last guy standing, and he got picked pretty quick too. So, I think the league values tight ends. We're blessed that we have some good tight ends. Definitely something that we have to work on in the short term and in the long term, given that they're all free agents. But I think right now we have an abundance of riches at both running back and tight end, and we're going to use those guys.
Yeah, and Sarah, a very similar answer was given, as you heard there at the very end. He was quick to compliment the running back room. And so they obviously, all 3 days with 11 picks, did not draft a running back, did not draft a tight end. And so when he was asked specifically about the running back position later on, he just kind of joked about giving up like a major haul for Ashton Genty and not being able to find like a willing trade partner, which was said in jest. And then after that, just proceeded to do exactly what he just did there, right? There's an embarrassment of riches in those 2 position groups. He also singled out Rasheen Ali, their 5th rounder from a year ago, who will be gearing up for his second season, and really kind of said, like, on top of what they already have with the 3-headed monster of Derek, Keaton, and of course Justice, he feels like that Rasheen hasn't been able to showcase what his potential is. So that was that. But in terms of the Mark Andrews discussion, quote, I value Mark more than anybody else is what stood out to me. How about you?
Yeah, I think that's kind of like the main quote for sure. He had been sending signals that he was open for business, and he just confirmed for the first time, right? Completely confirmed. Yeah, we had discussions with teams. And basically he said we didn't get, any offers that we felt like was worth splitting ways with Mark Andrews. And so, but it sounds like he was shocked, And so that's fine. And he also said he was willing to look at tight ends in the draft, right? Because they do have to look forward past next year. We have, I don't think there's any tight ends in our contract. That I hope will change before then with one Isaiah Likely. So this is where we're at. He wanted to see, he said we have an embarrassment of riches there. So that's why he was shopped. Also probably because of his cap hit. But he said, we value Mark more than the league does. And that, Bobby, reminds me when sometimes players in negotiations will come to a GM and say, well, I think I'm worth this much money. And, Eric DeCosta will say, well, I'm not there, but you're welcome to go test the market. Go test the market and see if you can get a better deal than what I'm giving you. I'll keep the deal there. I won't come down. Here's the deal I'm offering. If you can go get a better one, let me know. And many times players will come back and say, okay, well, my value wasn't as high as I thought it was. And that's basically what happened with Eric DeCosta there. He's like, Mark Andrews' value wasn't as high as I wanted it to be in order for me to move on. So, listen, it's like he said, it's a good thing to have 2 Pro Bowl caliber tight ends. I'm happy and fine with Mark Andrews being back. He'll be a productive guy. It's just the caveat that I've always given. I would like to see Isaiah Likely get a larger role, especially in crunch time. But going into the season with Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, and Charlie Kolar on your tight end, in your tight end room, that's not bad news.
Clean living. They are clean living. On to the Mike Green discussion. Of course, he's the 2nd round pick that heard his name called 59th overall on day 2 out of Marshall, led all of FBS a season ago in sacks. He's a beast by all accounts. This dude is a beast. As we watched and as we all know, there was a reason why he fell to day 2. Eric DeCosta and John Harbaugh fielded several questions after that day 2 press conference regarding why they felt comfortable. But again, in a more informal setting on the lounge, Eric DeCosta opened up more about said homework that was done really on all walks of life prior to Mike Green coming to the NFL. He made 3 stops, right? It was 2 colleges and then high school. And Eric shared in this clip just how deep they went to get a good familiarity with the prospect that is Mike Green.
Probably not. I mean, let's face it, there were allegations made that on Mike that he had to answer to and work that teams had to do. And we knew that going in. It wasn't like in the fall we didn't know that there were some issues with Mike. And but as a player, watching him as a player, one of my favorite players this year. Like, I think we do have a good idea what it takes to rush the passer in the NFL. And we've had a lot of really good players over the years as pass rushers. And Mike is just well-schooled. His technique, he's got a variety of moves, explosive off the football, tenacious player. He's stronger than he looks. I mean, this is a guy who can knock you back and set the edge and do those kind of things. He can drop and play in space. He's lightning quick on the backside, knifing down. He can beat tackles. He can do anything you want a guy to do. He can do it. And so, it wasn't like we weren't surprised by how good he was, because starting out in September of last year, he was one of the top-rated players on our board. And so we spent...
Even before he played the season?
Well, as we got into the season,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
His tape was just so impressive that we got as much information as we could. We talked to as many people as we could. We sent in multiple area scouts. We got information from Virginia. We got information from Marshall. We talked to people in his hometown. I mean, we basically did as much as we could. And in the end, we made the decision to pick him. And we're excited about him as a player. We think he's going to flourish here with us. We think we have a great scheme for him to be his very best. And we think he's going to have a great career with us.
So expresses a ton of confidence there in terms of Mike Green, the player, but also kind of backs himself and backs the scouting department and everybody that was involved in doing this homework. He's originally from Williamsburg, Virginia, is Mike. He played his high school football at Lafayette, which is in Williamsburg. He then went to the University of Virginia for a couple of years and then transferred to Marshall. That season that he references, in terms of him being high up on their board, was his first at Marshall, which was 2023. So he only started one game, played in 13, and still managed to log 43 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, and 4.5 sacks. We all know what he did in his final season at Marshall after that. He started all 13 games, logged 84 tackles, nearly doubling the previous years, 2 PBUs, 17 sacks, 22.5 tackles for loss. The guy's football career at college was just this upward, just think of an upward trajectory arrow, right? That's infinitely moving up. That's what he was doing. But I found that to be interesting because they did, like I said, 3 levels of homework. They went back to, the Virginia high school days. They went back to the University of Virginia. And of course, they went back to Marshall, where he most recently played, and they felt comfortable doing so.
Yeah, like when he talked about how high he was up on the draft board, and Garrett was like, wait, before the season? He's like, well, at the start of it, at the start. And they did what you can only ask him to do. Actually, they did exactly what you should do. When there's allegations, you can't automatically assume they're true, but you can't automatically assume that they're false. And so he just said, and I think he said later, it's almost like investigative journalism, right? He was just like in journalism, editors will send out their journalists and they dig and dig and dig and they try to find the story. And he's like, that's essentially what we tried to do. That's what they try to replicate, is just send in scout after scout after scout at both universities, talk to people that are close to them, and so find out if you're comfortable with them. I don't know those details. I don't know what they found. I don't even quite know what the allegations are, other than I know that they are of a sexual nature, but I don't know how deep I don't know. And so to hear that, like, they put in the work, that's what you do, because you can't assume it's true and you can't assume it's false. That's not fair to anybody. And so I like that. The other thing that I liked is that he called him one of his favorite players. Bobby, we had a poll out. We had a short earlier this week, me saying Mike Green was my favorite. And I don't think I'm alone. I know a lot in the chat feel that way. And I know a lot of Ravens fans feel that way, that he's our favorite draft pick, specifically talking about football. And EDC outlined it. He said he's well-schooled. And this is coming from that small school, right? I mean, but he did go to Virginia too. His technique, he said he can drop back, so you could use him as a Sam linebacker. You just don't want to because it's so valuable to go get sacks and hurry the quarterback. But he's saying he can drop back. He says he can knock, guys off their block. He said he's lightning fast, can knife through, can get past tackles. Like, it's just this wide array. And I don't know if it was in that clip, but he was like, hey, I think that we have seen some good pass rushers in our day, from, Terrell Suggs or guys that we've gone up against, and Myles Garrett and TJ Watt. They were like, we know what a good pass rusher looks like. and Mike Green is a good pass rusher.
That he is, and all it's left to figure out is how it translates to the NFL level. What about what they currently have right now? Eric, kind of unprompted, went through player by player, pass rusher by pass rusher analysis of who he feels like he has right now, the way that the room is currently constructed, and how ultimately Mike complements what they already have.
You look at Kyle Van Noy and what he's done in 2 seasons. Great player. Plays like a Raven. Tough, smart, polished. Rushes the passer, can do all the different things. He's a leader. Odafe, double-digit sacks last year, right? Just continues to grow every single year, having a great offseason. Expect huge things from him. Tavius is another guy. Like, Tavius was a 4th-round pick, and he's like a real physical. He's a Raven. I mean, the way that guy plays, he fits us. You know, Ajabo has overcome injuries. Still a very, very talented player. He's so hungry right now. I expect big things from him. You know, it's right there for him. And then Adisa last year. So Adisa comes in. He's one of our higher players that we rated in the 3rd round. We get him last year. Had some soft tissue things. Had some injuries. Kind of had his first season derailed a little bit by that. But again, like Adisa, when you think about that, it's like getting an additional draft pick this year. And then you take Mike Green, you put him in the mix. We got 6 really good, intriguing football players at Sam and rush linebacker.
Your thoughts on him really touting his entire room one by one?
Listen, when he touted him that way before the draft, I was a little bit nervous, right? Because he's right, but we all knew that something was lacking. We felt like maybe, yeah, all these guys are good, but maybe it's more because you're scheming it up, and maybe they're able to take advantage of Nnamdi Madubuike in the middle, those types of things. And so it was last year a solid pass rushing room, but it did not have that closer. It didn't have somebody that could just, be the one to seal the win by absolutely annoying and breathing down the neck of quarterbacks who could do it all on their own. And so with Mike Green, you now have that potential. I don't know how quickly Mike Green is going to develop. I don't know if that's going to come to fruition right away this year, or if it's going to take a minute. We should probably have some grace and give him a minute coming from, Marshall and all of those types of things. But now they've added the piece that puts the room over the top. I think it was a solid room. Like he said, it was 2nd most in sacks last year. But dang it, when you have the lead and Lamar Jackson in the offense just put up a touchdown, can you make a stop? The best way you can do that is annoying the quarterback. And Mike Green is that guy that could potentially, once he develops into what we all think he can be, he's that guy who can put it over the top.
You're looking at the sack totals from a year ago. If you needed a reminder, of course, Kyle and Odafe, as we've mentioned many times, were the double-digit sack guys for you. Nnamdi Madubuike, during a year where he was double-teamed seemingly more often than not, finished with 6.5 and a whole lot of pressures and a whole lot of, obviously, I guess, what do you call it? They'll never go in the scorebook, but the sacks that Odafe and KVN were able to stack up were probably at times in large part due to Nnamdi's efforts there in the middle part of that defensive line. 18 different Ravens, Sarah, sacked the quarterback at least once, which tells you something about just the versatility, the scheme, and how many able corners and DBs they have that are able to get to the quarterback as well within the confines of Zach Orr's defense, which is something that we saw when Mike McDonald was here in Baltimore as well. So everybody's talking about Mike Green, and the same can be said for Malachi Starks, the 1st rounder. And Eric, he spoke glowingly of him. I don't even think there's really any proper way to set this up other than just handing the baton to Eric. Listen to the way in which he views and speaks so highly of his 1st round pick, the safety out of Georgia, Malachi Starks.
With Malachi, you're truly looking at the best player at his position, and probably, when it all comes right down to it, maybe, arguably, the cleanest player at his position. Literally no questions whatsoever. There were some other really good players that were there when we picked, and like, for instance, Josh Simmons, Ohio State, tremendously talented, probably the best feet in the draft, coming off a patellar injury. So that just, in some ways, just slightly muddies the water. That's a great player, Josh Simmons.
Right.
They got a great player.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs got a great player with a lot of upside.
Don't like seeing the Chiefs get him.
I know. Probably going to be a Pro Bowl player at some point.
Right.
But he suffered a serious knee injury. So you have to, everything matters when you're evaluating these guys, and you're really trying to separate. And so for us, Malachi, it was like, what can't this guy do? He's going to play for us right away. He's smart. He's tough. He's a ball hawk. Tackles well. Instinctual. Great kid. Winning program. SEC. Like every box, literally. If there were 20 boxes, he checked off all 20 boxes.
Yeah, exactly.
Sari called him probably the best player at his position, called him the cleanest pick. And also in a separate piece of the conversation, when they asked just how high up was he on your board, he essentially said way higher, right?
Yeah.
Paraphrasing, way higher than where they ultimately got him, which was 27th overall.
Yeah, he wouldn't give an exact number, right? I think that those guys were fishing for it. So good on them for asking. I would have fished for it too. But he just was like, we got him at 27. Yeah, we had him a lot higher than 27. He just talks about all the boxes that he checked, which we already know. We had an episode the day after he was drafted about all the things that he brings to the Ravens. And so, and they talked a lot about positional value and how, like if the rest of league, obviously, and they value it too, is going to put quarterback and pass rusher and offensive tackle and those types of, and wide receiver, those types of positions, and value that, then you have a bunch of people going for that. And he said, so do I take, the third or fourth, or in this case, maybe fifth best pass rusher, or do I take the best safety? And he's like, I've been doing this a couple of times where I just take the best at that position, and it ends up working out really well for us. And then it just turned out that another pass rusher fell for him. So he got a premium position too, but in the second round. So Malachi is just that complete all-around player that, he said if there's 20 check boxes, he checks them all.
We'll try to circle back on a few more of those clips that we have on the other side of this. It's now time to take a look at the Cleveland perspective, of course, coming off of draft weekend. And our next guest is not only a friend of the show, but somebody who has been a part of some pretty tense, or shall we say intense, press conferences around the Browns building in recent weeks and recent days. And that is Cleveland.com's Browns beat writer, Mary Kay Cabot. Welcome back, Mary Kay. And my, oh my, you are not afraid to ask the question. I've been hearing your voice in them, and I'm rooting you on getting those questions that need to be asked. So what is the state of the Browns coming off of draft weekend, if you can somehow summarize it?
Well, thanks for noticing. Those questions have to be asked, even though you might be getting yourself into some dicey situations with some of those at times, but you have to ask them. So thank you for noticing that. And then just the Browns are in a situation now where they have a four-way competition at quarterback. They find themselves back in sort of the eye of the storm at the quarterback position now with Shedeur Sanders in here. They don't see it like that at all. They see it as an opportunity to take a chance on a quarterback in the fifth round who was falling fast and furious there. And they threw him a lifeline. They're going to bring him in here and see what he can do in this competition. But it's certainly not going to be handed to him. He's going to have to really come in here and fight and scratch and claw his way to the top of that depth chart.
Mary Kay, do you see anybody that might be a favorite? Like, I'm looking at this lineup. It sounds like they've kind of moved on from Deshaun Watson. You've got Kenny Pickett. You got our former Super Bowl winning Raven, Joe Flacco. Then they have Dylan, which was drafted before Shedeur. Do you see anybody even just lightly penciled in as the favorite going into it?
As of right now, I'm going to put Kenny Pickett in that role because they went out and they traded for Kenny Pickett right at the outset when the league year was about to open. They identified him as someone who could come in here and be their bridge quarterback, a young former first-round pick, of course, of the Steelers in 2022, who fared well in his first couple of years there, not as well as he could have done because he was in a bit of a challenging situation. His offensive coordinator got fired in his second season. He had some mercurial receivers One of them is now with the Cleveland Browns, but he had some challenging guys to throw the ball to, and it just wasn't a great environment for a rookie to come into. Now he's got some wins under his belt. He's 15-10 as a starter. He went to the Philadelphia Eagles. He got some great coaching from Kellen Moore last year, and I think the Browns want to pick up where he left off with the Eagles last year in learning and refining his game and bring him in here and see what he can't do. In a perfect world, they'll end up with their version of a Sam Darnold or what Baker Mayfield has gone on to be with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Now, those are some tall orders there, of course, but I think that's the way they're viewing it.
If there's one guy that can cultivate that kind of success, you would think it's Kevin Stefanski. He has been a quarterback whisperer for the Browns in recent years with all the tumultuous state that you guys have been in at that position. Now, I got to wonder, one of the questions that you asked, which was probably tougher than most think that are outside of the reporting community, was regarding this screenshot. I believe you were the one that asked this, Mary Kay. I think if I was listening, okay, good. So this was the cut on ESPN that they shifted to as Shedeur Sanders heard his name called, obviously well after he would have expected. It was day 3. It was the 5th round, and there's Kevin, and then there's Andrew Berry, head coach and general manager, respectively. They told you in response to essentially the obvious underwhelming body language that they had in this moment that it wasn't synced up perfectly with the time of the pick. Are you buying it?
Well, yeah, because I think by that time they would have already had talked to Shedeur, and this is just the kind of thing where I get they probably say, okay, you're going to be on camera now, and make sure that you look happy about this or something. I'm not exactly sure how that goes, but by this point, some things had already gone on. They had already made the trade. Some things had already happened. So I am buying that. And they were also just wiped out by the end of this weekend. And so many things had gone on, including a big, huge trade to go from 2 down to number 5 in the first round. And so I am buying that. And the narrative that keeps persisting no matter what is the fact that Jimmy Haslam is calling the shots on this football team. That's not true. Andrew Berry has final say. Andrew Berry is running the show. And I just really can't tell you that I believe that Jimmy made this pick.
Okay, that's good to know. And I have to be honest, we're all exhausted. I know the front offices and the reporters, us on the content creating side, we're all exhausted. So I could see that being the case too. Now, Mary Kay, what's crazy is the quarterback situation is taking all of the spotlight. But what's crazy is in the first round, I didn't pencil it and I pinned it, and I thought that the Browns would take Travis Hunter. But instead, they moved back a couple spots. They end up getting Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan. I'm like, well, both the Steelers and the Browns are doing that with Derrick Henry coming through. I think that sure helps to have them there. But what was their reasoning for passing on what some are projecting to be just a generational player in Hunter? And then how did Mason Graham, I'm sure, respond to all this? Because I'm sure he's hearing things online and on TV about how could you pass up Travis Hunter for somebody else?
Yeah, I also asked Mason Graham that question. So, how do you feel about coming in to a city, to a town where everybody was poised for Travis Hunter and excited about him? So these, once again, those are the kinds of questions that you have to ask on draft weekend to get the answers that absolutely everybody wants to know. But the thing is here, it was really about the haul that they got for Travis Hunter. Now they have to do plenty with it, and these guys have to come through. But if you look at what they've done already, they traded down only 3 spots. They got number 5. They got a 2nd round pick that they used on a running back. They got a 4th round pick that they used on a running back, and they have a 1st round pick next year, giving them 2. And in the event that they need a quarterback, that they're still looking for Mr. Right, they can package those two 1st round picks and see if they can't move up perhaps and get their franchise quarterback if he doesn't reveal himself or you don't manifest him this year. So they got so much out of this trade in terms of picks, players. They completely overhauled their entire running game with Quinshon Judkins, Dylan Sampson, and they feel really good about what they got out of this trade.
Mary Kay, this one was, I don't know what the right word is, maybe debacle in terms of his time in Baltimore and every other team really he's been with over the last season or two. Deontay Johnson is now a Cleveland Brown. How do you make sense of this?
Well, I'll tell you what, the first time that I heard it, I thought they better have it on good authority that he has gotten a handle on whatever caused him to be the player that he was last year, that 3 different teams gave up on, that teams traded away or cut or whatever the case may be. We saw things, we heard things, we read things. And he can't be that guy here, or he will not last here either. He's going to have to get in line. They're going for a culture change here. And it's been a transformation over the past how many ever years, but they are not going to really tolerate someone who's not going to buy into the program and really do what the Browns need him to do to be the best version of himself. If he's willing to do that, then he'll have a place on this football team, and they potentially have a really, really good, productive receiver on their hands. But we all know that it comes with some risks. It comes with some baggage, and he has just got to get this turned around.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like he couldn't be happy with Lamar Jackson as his quarterback, and I mean he would have had a huge opportunity with some of the injuries late, and so you just wonder how he's going to deal with the quarterback competition that's going on there. So I'm always rooting for a redemption story. So good luck to him and the Browns for sure, because I always like to see a good redemption story. Going back a couple months, Mary Kate, there was a lot of seemingly drama with Myles Garrett. I thought, man, is he going to get traded? Or is he going to hold out? This and that. From the outside, it seemed like things had gotten resolved pretty quickly. Was it something as simple as, paying him a lot of money, or was there something else going around? Because to me, it just seemed like with the way he was talking at the end of the season, oh, this isn't going to happen. And then before I know it, he's signed to a contract extension.
Well, I think it was a combination of a lot of things. And you guys saw that he went really, really hard after the notion of, I do not want to be back here. This is not about the money. But when you throw everything into the hopper, there probably weren't a whole lot of teams that were going to be able to pay him $40 million a year, making him at that time the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. So there was that. And then there was the fact that if the Browns had already said they were not going to take 2 first-round picks for Myles Garrett, somebody was going to have to come through with a whole lot more than that. And that obviously didn't happen either. And then I just think it was a matter of maybe not having an opportunity and also getting the money, and also the Browns showing him, look, we've got these 10 picks and we are going to do everything that we can with these 10 picks and some other pieces in free agency to get this team to winning as fast as we possibly can. And of course, they didn't have some marquee quarterback to show him, but they had a number of guys they knew were coming in to compete for the starting job, and also the chance to go out next year and get a franchise quarterback. And you put it all together, and he was ready to come back.
Mary Kay, on the other side of the ball, I mean, just kind of begs the question, when you draft 2 running backs, and given, I just feel for this guy because by all accounts, I'm sure you know him personally from your locker room dealings, but Nick Chubb just seems like an all-around class act. And for him to have dealt with these severe, catastrophic knee injuries with the type of talent that he is, it's just so devastating for him as a player. But given where they are right now with a running back room that consists of, Jerome Ford, Judkins, Sampson, who they just drafted, right? Those are the 2 that they just drafted. And then Pierre Strong Jr. is at least on the depth chart 90 man that I'm seeing on ESPN.com. Is this a message for his future? Do you expect him to be back? Would it be late in the process? If so, what are you thinking?
Well, I wrote a column about this earlier in the week. What does this mean for Nick Chubb? And basically, it kind of comes down to the Jerome Ford piece. Jerome is heading into the final year of his rookie deal. If someone is willing to make the Browns some kind of an offer for Jerome Ford that the Browns can't refuse, then they could possibly try to trade Jerome. And then that would open up a space for Nick Chubb. We've seen Nick Chubb this week hurdling 3 times in the weight room of his high school, squatting more than 500 pounds. So he's working really hard, and he is a freak of nature. And it looks like he's much stronger than he was last year when he was just coming off of that second major reconstruction of the left knee. But if Jerome Ford sticks around, then I don't think there is a place for Nick Chubb. So I think that's the kind of key thing to watch here.
All right, so Mary, just my last question here to let you out of here. Now looking post-draft at the AFC North, do you have kind of like an AFC North power ranking, and what do the Browns need to do from here to, do what they promised, Myles Garrett, that we're going to win right away. So what's your power ranking, and how can the Browns move up in that?
Well, it's really hard to say when you don't know who the quarterback is.
Right.
If you knew who the starting quarterback is, then I think it's much easier to rank them. So I guess for now, I'll go with Kenny Pickett. I do think that Dylan Gabriel will come in and really compete very, very hard with Kenny Pickett. And then I think you'll have Shador and Joe doing whatever they can to climb up that depth chart and get up there onto a level playing field with those guys and really try to compete for this job. But it's hard to say where they might be because of the quarterback situation. So as of right now, I would probably put them third or fourth. And I just think it's going to be a really, really great race this year again in the AFC North.
And if they can get their quarterback room taken care of, they always play Baltimore tough, particularly on defense. And that's why we kept talking about the idea of Abdul Carter, right, opposite Myles Garrett. Now, obviously, that doesn't happen, and you still go defense. But, man, you get that, much like Pittsburgh. You get the quarterback position taken care of, and you are going to be competitive in one of the most, if not the entirely most competitive divisions of all of football. Mary Kay, we appreciate your time. What do you got coming up on Cleveland.com that maybe some folks from the Ravens perspective would want to see what's going on in Cleveland?
Just kind of following up on everything. Today, I'm writing something about Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah and what the outlook is for him. They went out and they drafted an off-ball linebacker at number 33 overall. So I'm taking a look at that, and then really moving ahead to rookie minicamp coming up next weekend, and Shador coming into town. The circus is coming back to town, just in the same way it did, let me say, with Johnny Manziel and Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson. So here we go again.
I would suspect that Hard Knocks has got to be on the phone with Browns ownership. No?
I don't know. We'll see, but it certainly will be a show.
Mary Kay, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Mary.
Browns beat reporter who's joined us before. You can go hit her up on Twitter. Send her a thank you at Mary Kay Cabot. Third or fourth in the division. I wonder who she's got as that other team that might be right there.
Like right now, she's just like, I can't, speak too high. I'll give them a little bit of love or whatnot. But listen, she is plugged in, Bobby, and she is like to the point, and she's got facts, and she's full of good information. And to your point, I'm glad that you noticed all the tough questions that she's asked, because it's easier said than done, knowing that it's like this, it's not just like fans that can like yell at coaches and then they go on with their day. Like, you have to have a relationship with these people. And if you want to get further interviews and more questions, like, you have to ask tough questions, but respectful questions, all of that. But to me, I think the most enlightening thing was the question I asked about why they traded back and away from Travis Hunter. And she basically said they've got one eye on that quarterback class next year, because now they've got 2 first-round picks next year, and they can use ammunition to trade up if Kenny Pickett doesn't work out, and Dylan doesn't work out, and Shador doesn't work out, and Joe's probably going to be too old to count on, for another year. So she's like, they've got ammunition in a much better draft class to say, you know what? None of these 4 guys panned out. We're going to go up and get one of the big studs in 2026.
Something tells me they're going to be in pretty darn good position to do so, with not only a couple first rounders like you referenced, but I don't know. It just seems like too much of a circus. I think they're going to be very competitive with the Ravens. I think they're going to be very competitive with their in-division opponents. But outside of the division, I just don't see them hanging around to be some of the AFC elites. And so ultimately, I see them, top half of that first half opening round, and you'll have the likes of Cade Klubnik, Nussmeier. I don't know if Arch Manning's going to come out or not. He has another year of eligibility. So I took a quick peek in the last couple of days of some of these quarterbacks, a very, very early look at who they might, and whoever else is going to be at the top of the draft might have their selection of. So we appreciate Mary Kay for her time. Go hit up her Twitter and just say a quick thanks because of her generosity. All right. Why don't we go to a couple more clips before we get out of here, since I think we have a couple extra minutes.
Any super chats and then go back?
We should do that as well. Let's
okay.
Get some super chats and then a couple other takeaways that we had from Eric DeCosta's press conference, or I should say sit-down interview with the Lounge. John got us started earlier on in the hour, just saying, what's up, fam? What's going on, John? Happy Friday. And Dre Dog 679's in the building.
He said, do we trust that Harbs will put the right players on the field to get the maximum results when it matters most? That's the real question. Hashtag Bobby SC. I'm assuming he wrote that while we were talking about Mark and Isaiah Likely, and maybe there's some history of, people wanting Ben Cleveland over Fa'alele or stuff like that. And so that's a good question. I think that ultimately I do think that'll be delegated to Monken. And I think Lamar has a voice, that's for sure. But I definitely would like to see more of Isaiah Likely.
You and me both. Dre Dog 679 says sacks are not just about quantity that looks good. Sacks are more about when they happen. When they happen, the Ravens must understand the when. If not, no Super Bowl. Hashtag Bobby SC. Hybrid Theory says he's hungry.
Yo,
and Yo Jitsu just gifted. Wait a second here. Yo Jitsu gifted 5 Voltron memberships on this Friday. Yo Jitsu stepping up to the plate.
It looks like spiritual war exposed just said thanks. So maybe he's one or her. Tila. She said, "Hey, I'm green." Tila got one.
Please identify yourself. We've got Tila. You mentioned the first one was Spiritual War Exposed. Who else is on the receiving end of Yo Jitsu's Friday generosity? That's super cool. 5 Voltron memberships. You too can gift 1, gift 5. Become a channel member yourself by clicking on the link that we have right now pinned in the live chat. There's also a link at the top of the show notes as well.
Who is that? What'll say Junior? Is that one? Because he just started saying yo.
Yep. Holly's confirming that. Super cool.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Yo Jitsu. That is really, really awesome. And I believe we are now within 2 or 3 of 100. So thank you, Yo Jitsu.
Nice.
I think we started at 92. So
maybe
I guess
90.
we'd be 2 out.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, Yo Jitsu, and RNTY1 as well, Sarah.
Says, have an awesome weekend, Bobby and Sarah, and Voltrons.
You do the same. It's supposed to be awesome today and then thunderstorms the rest of the way. So I'm going to Nick's Fish House tonight for crabs. I'm third wheeling my couple friend, which I'm excited about. We're gonna literally do a traditional Maryland crab night, which I can probably count on one hand how many times I've actually done that in Baltimore. Crazy enough.
Nice.
So that's what's coming up.
It's what I say. That was what it was. I was trying to pronounce it. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. So why don't we revisit, just because we have a couple more clips, our main takeaways from Eric DeCosta's sit down with the lounge.
Yeah.
And we just left off with Malachi Starks. If you go back to the beginning of the live stream, the first opening topic prior to bringing Mary Kay on, and being that he was talking about his first rounder, I thought, and I know you thought as well, a good segue would be to share later on in the conversation, Eric actually being pretty vulnerable in terms of what this draft was emotionally for him, particularly in the first round between the ears. Listen to this.
This draft gave me, particularly the first round, I had a lot of anxiety in the first round this year. Last year, not as much. It's been a few years, even like the Zay draft, not as much. This year, there were a lot of potholes along the way with the players in this draft in the first round. It's a very, very flat draft. So you had players in that just sort of dropped, and then it was flat for a long time. So I was nervous about this draft. And, if people would have asked me, I would have said, one of the best possible outcomes would be Malachi being there. Mm-hmm. And he was. And so from that standpoint, there was tremendous relief for me at the end of that first round.
First of all, because this came in during that clip, Asmodeus just matched Yo Jitsu's. So we got Yo Jitsu and Asmodeus, who are apparently feeling their oats on this Friday, gifting out 5 channel memberships apiece. That is super kind of both of you. Let us know. Remember, identify yourselves because we can't see it in real time who is on the receiving end of these gifts. So thanks to both of you. Happy Friday and welcome to all 10 of our new channel members. But
Kingley just gifted one.
It's starting right now.
Giving
Kingley,
is contagious, as they're saying in the chat. My goodness.
We're gonna lose our train of thought here, Kingley. We'll give you some love in just a second. Thank you for gifting a channel membership. But Sarah, that was some raw, unfiltered Eric DeCosta there, using words like, again, nervous, anxiety, tremendous relief when he did ultimately end up securing Malachi. So I found that to be interesting.
Definitely, because, and he explained it, it's what we had learned early in the draft process, that this draft didn't have a lot of star power. And so it's a little bit more risky that somebody that you have rated highly is actually going to fall all the way down to you. Because he said, he goes, I wasn't nervous last year and I wasn't nervous the year before. It just, you feel like people are going to fall to you. And so he was nervous. And then, as we said at the top of the show, he revealed that Malachi Starks was ranked a lot higher than 27. So when he says that he had a big relief, there must have not been too many guys rated that high with Malachi that made it to number 27.
It is really contagious right now in the live chat. I'm trying to listen to you and also sharing, catching everybody up to speed on who is feeling generous on this Friday. Hybrid Theory, he is now a part of the pack of gift giving and gift givers. He has gifted a Vault channel membership. So we now have 12 new Voltrons within the last 10 minutes, Sarah. So,
oh my gosh, so we got to be over 100 then.
So yes, we're well over 100 now. We started at 92. So thanks to Yojitsu. Thank you to Asmodeus, King Lee, Hybrid Theory. Elwood is checking in with a $4.99 super sticker. Thanks to all of you. We appreciate it. One more takeaway before quick hits. And this is hilarious. Okay, go back to day 3.
Yeah.
When the Ravens did a very strange thing. And I'm going to go defer to Jeff's transcription on X to help explain it and refresh our memory. Eric was asked about the trade with Tennessee, in which the Ravens moved back 5 in the 4th.
Right.
Just to move up 5 in the 5th. Okay,
right.
Day 3, strange draft structure and movement.
Yeah.
Eric was asked by Jeff, and I remember thinking, Sarah, when I was listening to this live, what does this even mean? I'm trying to decipher it, and I feel stupid as I'm attempting to because I don't know what it means. Eric referred to it as, quote, an analytics thing, a strategy that we use based on the board and the type of players that were there. Ryan and Garrett followed up on the lounge, and he was just straight up in terms of the strategy that he went with in that press conference. Not necessarily the strategy of what went into the decision to move around and shuffle around, but the strategy and ultimately answering the question later that day.
Honestly, I just made all that up. That was I made all that up.
Well, I ate it up.
And people are still trying to figure that out. I just imagine all these people going, what did he say? And, he said 4 or 5 different things, and none of those things really make sense.
Okay.
The reality of it was there were really 2 reasons why we made that trade. One, they had just brought out the buffalo chicken dip, and I really wasn't. I wasn't in a mind frame to pick because I wanted to get some of that buffalo chicken dip, and I knew that George Kokinis and Mark Acevedo were going to be out there eating that dip, and so that was part. And the second one was just, and this happens every once in a while. This happened back when we drafted Flacco, but Chad Steele was in the bathroom at the time. Mm-hmm. And we couldn't make a pick without Chad being in there. So we had to, basically that trade was like a timeout.
Gotcha.
That's all it was. It really
for just Chad to get out of the bathroom. Right.
Yeah,
you're knocking on the door. Chad, what's going on in there? What
that trade was like a timeout, but we didn't have any timeouts. So we faked an injury. That's what that was.
Didn't they make that a penalty now?
Yeah, but you got to catch them. So that's what that trade was. Honestly, if I really want to boil it down, I know a lot of people have thought about that trade.
Yeah. That
trade was a timeout for us. And it was just basically, faking an injury, and the clock stopped and gave us a chance to regroup.
One of the most ridiculous answers that he has ever given, the things that buffalo chicken dip can do to a guy. Good Lord.
And how did Chad Steele just get thrown under the bus over and over again?
Yeah. That was
awesome. What I do. Why am I getting pulled into this? Acting like he's in the bathroom. What's funny is every year when he does these with these guys, he always has a story, right? He's always got a story that you're not quite sure. So I'm so what is analytics the new answer you give when you've messed up? You don't it was analytics. Or was it really analytics and he's coming up with this? Obviously, the whole bathroom part is not real, but I feel like he's trying to make it sell like that they needed a timeout. But I'm like, you need a timeout from what? Like, obviously, it's not from the buffalo dip. Like, it can't be. It can't be a bathroom visit, right, Bobby? It can't be.
It was what? Why am I forgetting the last time he did this regarding Tavius Robinson?
Yes,
He
it was.
made
It
up
was him playing hockey, and they scouted him playing hockey or something like
the
that.
Canadian Hockey League. Is that what he said? That is. He needs to. I hope years and years from now, when he's potentially ready for retirement, or however he ends up leaving football, hopefully on his terms, for his sake and Lacey's sake and their wonderful family, the Professional Poker League. He is going to be dominant in the Professional Poker League.
Yes.
Because his poker face is actually scary. It is scary. Yvette's picking up on it. She's like, yeah, he told some lies too and avoided some stuff as well. Yeah. LOL. Yeah. Appreciate you, Yvette. We have a new channel member. There is a trickle-down effect happening today on this Friday. And it's Vera Thranga. It's Vera Thragna has become a new Voltron. So we have now been gifted over 10 channel members. We've had a couple join in, and I got to say, you guys are this is a very moving end to my Friday here. Thank you. Thank you for becoming channel members, guys. Asmodeus checking in as well, Sarah.
He says, I actually totally believe it.
I mean, a lot of people
emojis.
Why wouldn't you? You want to take people
I just can't believe they traded back because he had to go to the bathroom. It's obviously not because Chad needed to. It would have had to have been Eric, right? Like anybody else to go to the bathroom, like you just move forward. Like, did Eric have to go to the bathroom? I don't know.
Chad is catching so many strays right now. You got to feel for him.
So many strays.
Goodness gracious.
Okay. Just a couple more notes from that interview. That's all the audio we have, right?
That is all the audio we have. We unloaded it.
Just two more notes. He was talking about Emory Jones and whether he would move to guard. And Eric said that he didn't know, that they still want to see him. They want to see, they'll test it, obviously. But I liked that he talked about his analogies of guards and tackles. And he said a guard to him is like a safety on defense, which is that you have to process a lot of the stunts, a lot of things that the defense are doing to you. So you need to be like high football IQ and know what's going on all around you throughout the middle of the field. Whereas he said a tackle is more like a corner and you can just be like, look, just go follow that guy. Right. And so a tackle will be like, stop this pass rusher from getting to your quarterback. So I really enjoyed that. And so I think they're waiting to see what he can do. But he said he did love his physicality, which you also need as a guard. And so they will definitely be testing that out. Somebody asked me on Twitter yesterday if I feel like the Ravens are going to go out and get another veteran guard. And I feel like actually if Memory plays guard, they're going to need to go out and get a swing tackle. Because there's really not a swing. Like he right now is also penciled in as the swing tackle. And so I definitely see another veteran move along the offensive line, but they might want to get a look at Emory first. The other note that they were talking about, they revisited how he had so many fourth-round picks back in 2022 when he got Daniel Fa'alele and Jalen Armour-Davis and Charlie Kolar and Isaiah Likely and Pepe Williams. And how that was like a defining, even going into the draft, Eric DeCosta said the fourth round is going to define this draft. And it did. And he talked about how the hit rate for a contributor out of the fourth round is anywhere from 20 to 25%. So going into it, they were like, can we get 3 of these players, statistically speaking? And they did. Fa'alele became a starter. I know how everybody feels about him, but he became a starter. Charlie Kolar, excellent contributor. Isaiah Likely could probably do more. And so like, that hit the percentages what they were hoping for. Now at the 6th round, he said, don't expect as much because the hit rate is more like 12 to 15%. But they need Tyler Loop to hit, right? They need him. And they've got other special teams guys like LeJonte Wester. We hope that Aeneas Peebles hits. And then you got 2 corners. And so that basically is his philosophy because they asked, why didn't you trade up? You had all these picks, not all of them are going to make the team. And he reiterated, he's like, listen, at the end of the day, all of us are going after the same guys. We all want the same guys. So by the time you're on that 3rd day, it's about having a lot of picks. And so that's his strategy. He's like, the more picks I have, I know the statistics of each round of somebody league-wide. And he said, it's almost the same for every team over time. He goes, so if it's a if it's a 12 to 15% hit rate, yeah, give me 5 picks in the 6th round and I'm bound to hit on 1 or 2, statistically speaking. And so that's kind of where he's at, where he's like, and he started talking about how he's already stockpiling in the 5th round next year. So in 2022, it was 4th round. This last year was 6th round. Now he's going to do it in the 5th round. And they have stats on all of it and how it works over time. And that's why he just wants more, because everybody wants the same players and they're gone. So give me more picks on day 3 and I'm going to hit on more. I'm going to hit on more players. Raw, like out of pure raw numbers, statistically speaking, it'll be the same. But because I've got more picks, I'm going to be able to get more players in here that can contribute.
I think if memory serves, it's a projected 4 or 5 5th rounders coming up next year. So yeah, to your point, it's been that day 3. The more, the more swings that you give yourself, the more chances that you take, better off you'll be. All right, let's get to some quick hits. Appreciate you guys for being with us on this Friday. Over 1,800 concurrents at the moment, Tila. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, help us reach 24,000 subscriptions. The super chats have been flying in. The Voltron channel memberships have been flying in. We're very appreciative of that. Earlier this week, we told you about Clemson's announcement that, of course, has to do with Ravens wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins joining their class of 2025 Hall of Fame. He's played there from 2010 to 2012, and Death Valley was an absolute beast in the orange and white. Dabo Swinney's the head coach down there in South Carolina and gave his former wide receiver a FaceTime call, and I thought this was a nice little moment between the two.
Nice.
What's up, man?
I was just thinking about you. Where's Taj? I was thinking about you. You know what today? I was just talking. We were watching tape. You know what today is?
April 16th.
April the 16th. It's 4/16. So I figured this would be a great day to call you and ask you, how does it feel to be a Clemson Hall of Famer? How does it feel to be a Clemson Hall of Famer?
Hey, y'all make me cry.
Hey, how about it? Here we are, I don't know, 13 years later, and Hall of Famer right here, man. And it's the first of many. You're going to be in many Hall of Fames before it's over with, but hey, you deserve it. I'm happy for you. And
thank y'all, man. Appreciate y'all two fellas calling me, man.
So hey, from Bolick Field to the Clemson Hall of Fame, how about it?
Man, it's a blessing, Coach Golly, man.
Hey, well listen, go handle your business. We love you, we're proud of you, and can't wait to celebrate you.
Man, love y'all, man.
Hey, congratulations, family. Hey, look, I'm here you a little bit later. You know, we got that thing tatted in ink, though, so always.
4/16, let's go.
I love Dabo, man. I absolutely love Dabo. Love me some Dabo Swinney, him running down the hill onto the football field. By the way, John Gruden, he's been doing this series on X where universities, football programs, professional programs, they send him boxes and then he like de-boxes the box and it's a bunch of merch, bunch of stuff that's signed in his honor. And he's just like, it's going stupid viral. Well, Clemson just sent him one earlier in the week. And all of a sudden he cuts to when Dabo and him were touring around Death Valley, the stadium, and John himself, not the most in shape dude out there, one heck of a former NFL head coach, Super Bowl champion, but not the most in shape guy. Here he is hitting the hill. He's flying down the hill, trying not to stumble. It was hilarious. But having been to the Clemson experience, my ex was actually an alum, and she brought me down there a couple times. Second to none when it comes to college football. Now, having grown up in upstate New York, I didn't have a lot to choose from, but Southern college football is unmatched. And anyway, congratulations to D-Hop, one of many Hall of Fame nods that he'll be getting.
Yeah, that was cool. And he's like, man, you all are going to make me cry. I just love, having those moments. It's like those draft moments where you see, milestones hit and what it means to these guys. So it was nice to see that for D-Hop.
More quick hits.
Yeah, more quick hits. This was making some rounds on Twitter yesterday, which I thought was funny, the jokes that were going with it. But Michael Lopez, who is an analytics guy in the NFL, had posted the Ravens putting up a new job. And the job description, the name of it is quantitative analyst. And it's for, sounds like Eric DeCosta's department and player personnel. Need a full-time person. And the quantitative analyst, here's what the job description will be. You will join a small group of data analysts and developers who are passionate about the player evaluation process We encourage you to apply if you love data analysis, programming, and football. The Ravens seek a self-starter who can determine and achieve their own goals. If you don't feel you are the most knowledgeable football fan, that's okay. We are looking for a passionate football fan with a desire to learn. So anyway, people making jokes how they're like, man, how can I get this job? Like, I would love to be in the player personnel department. And I don't think he's an analytics guy, but you know who I want to get a job because he talks about it is Huddle It Up Films, Jason. I don't know if he's an analytics guy. You know who is an analytics guy? Is Ken McCusick. That dude is an analytics guy. He could do this type of thing and you talk about a self-starter. I don't know if that dude ever sleeps.
Right.
So there's some smart people in the Ravens fan base. So
Ken
but a lot of jokes were flying yesterday with this going out though.
Ken would be a freaking star. There's no doubt. Jason
Ken would be a star.
It. Yeah, both those guys would be. And they'd probably fulfill a lifelong dream to work for the organization that they love, from a fandom standpoint. So there you go. Throw the resume in, chat. If you feel like you qualify, let's get it. And one more.
Yeah, and so the NFL and kind of Ravens have kind of announced this new rivalries uniform kind of jersey that will come into play. It's starting this year, but they're only doing a couple of divisions at a time each year. So this is where every NFL team will have a new uniform, but it has to be worn at home against a division rival. The problem is the Ravens and the AFC North are not slated to start until 2028. And so they made the announcement. It's fun for the AFC East and the NFC West because they start this year. But the AFC North will not start until 2028, which, I mean, we can wait, right? We just got the new helmets last year with the Rising, what was it called? Purple Rising helmet. So we got something new recently. But the NFL was announcing that. So people were asking. I just wanted to let people know that it won't be coming to Baltimore until 2028.
More super chats. Monica wrote us. Thanks, guys, for the love and memberships. Hashtag Voltrons. Not sure if she's saying she received one, but if maybe that, or maybe just saying thanks, which we certainly echo that gratitude as well. Thanks, Monica.
Appreciate it.
Asmodeus referring to what answer?
I think it was the needing a timeout to go to the bathroom because of the chicken dip.
Yeah. Yvette, I'll let you take this one, Sarah.
She said, going to a Flock Nation party in Ohio tomorrow. I'll report any Sarah sightings. I hadn't even heard of that. Didn't know that there was one.
What's going on? What part of Ohio, Yvette? Where are you at in Ohio? I just checked that off my global map, my country map. I put the push pin right in there.
There you go.
Let's go. Love that thing. Dre Dog 679. It's honestly so fulfilling to do that. It's when you know you're a travel nut, even if it's something as simple as going from Baltimore to Ohio. I'd never been to Ohio. I'd driven through it, but I don't count that.
You want to pin it all.
After I spent the time, I took my black push pin and threw that right in the global map. So Dre Dog 679 writes, University of South Carolina versus Clemson games next level. Oh yeah. In-state type rivalry right there for sure. Hashtag Bobby SC trying to lure me in more so than he already has. And Sod Blitz 34 wants to know where he can apply, Sarah.
Go back. Yeah, a lot of times they'll have it on the Ravens website. You just kind of have to look through. Let me see if I can find it. But I remember we would have to post openings. They're kind of like not on the front page.
Yeah.
So I can't remember where they would do it, but I'd have to find and look out. But you can go to Michael Lopez and ask him.
There you have it.
You know what I mean? Just send your resume in. Just send it in.
But Saad, we expect you to continue to be a generous super chat donor if you end up being with the team. All right. You were with the Vault first. Come on now. Let's make sure that that's written in ink. All right. Yvette's in Michigan. They have a chapter there. And she's going to Columbus. She'll be in your hood. That's cool.
Okay. I love it.
Let's see. Let's get some patrons in here. We appreciate you guys for a fantastic post-draft week. Lots of great engagement, viewership, and interest this week. BG Method and Chris Gagnon are our patrons because of the support that they give us. And they are new patrons, by the way, as well. They just joined within the last month or two. So thank you both for all the support that you give us. If you guys are interested in doing the same, you can join the Vault Patreon community by visiting patreon.com Ravens Vault podcast. Everything is in the show notes. You can hit us up via email at BaltimoreRavensVault@gmail.com. I saw Jack Kilroy write into the chat earlier on that you wanted us to respond back to him. We've seen your email. I've chatted with Preston, meaning he was the recipient of the Kyle Hamilton signed football helmet that we gave out, the free giveaway from over the weekend during draft weekend. I just haven't heard back from them yet. I know that Kate, who is leading the charge, Jack, is on vacation right now. And based on her Instagram, it looks like it's literally the Maldives. It looks incredible. So I don't want to bother her too much, but just know we're going to get that helmet to you for sure. And
one more super chat came in, and then I want to just say something on the way out. But Monica just wanted to make a clarification. She said no, that she didn't get a membership. She just wanted to send love.
She always sends it. She always seems to send love, Monica. You're full of love, and always love your notes. Always love hearing from you. Have an awesome weekend.
So is that everything? Is that all business, Bobby? We got it all in?
We're fully caught up.
All right. So I just wanted to say something about yesterday. And our debate, if you even want to call it that, maybe more yelling or whatever, but that did not land the way I was hoping it would for sure. Where my mind was at versus what I later watched was definitely two different things. I know that Bobby, you have been encouraged to debate more, right? You've been encouraged to give more passion. You have been encouraged to do that, not me. I already have enough passion, and so. I know we had pre-discussed having that debate, and I thought it was going to be, I even termed it petty. And in my mind, I took the passion up a couple of notches. And in my mind, it was being funny. And when I went back and watched that, it was anything but funny. In fact, it was embarrassing. And I think you know just how embarrassed I was by it. I was like, that is not who I want to be. And why my mind was so far off of where I was in my mind space versus what landed. And I should know better. I have teenage boys that are constantly dunking on people and jokingly getting after people. And I'll say to them all the time, I'm like, but it's not landing that way. Like you're joking, but it's landing as obnoxious, and it like grades on the nerves. And all it makes me want to do is like somehow turn it off. And so when I went back and listened to that, I was like, wow, that was bad. That was bad. That was not at all who I wanted to be. And so I don't know why I took the advice to you to have more passion, to somehow bring it over on my end. And I thought by being loud, it was showing that we were having fun with each other. But if anything, it just looked personal. It looked like I was angry. It was bad. It was bad. And the word, I mean, it was just dumb. And the word that I just keep coming back to is it was embarrassing. Like there are some people that don't like to listen to themselves at all. But as you know, we've been on, TV, radio, podcasting long enough that those go away. Like you can just listen to yourself and not feel weird about it, even though like when you first do it, it feels weird. So I've heard myself talk a lot. That was embarrassing. That was definitely embarrassing. And I looked so angry, and I told you the other day, like anger never even came into my mind. Like, so I would have toned myself down if I were like angry. I'd be like, wait, Sarah, you're getting a little fired up. So anyway, you were nice. You were great. You were wonderful. I'm surprised people came back. We have 1,946 concurrents, Tila. Thank you for coming back despite what had to have been grating on the ears and not fun to listen to whatsoever. I was like, there's going to be like 10 people listening to us today, and maybe Tila will be the one that gives us grace, right? Like that's it. So anyway, my apologies to you. My apologies to everybody's ears. That was embarrassing. And I told you I wanted to like throw it in the trash can and never look at it again, because that is not how I want to be, for sure.
We'll keep our conversations that we've had, that were off air. But like I said yesterday, luckily, it doesn't change the way your partner feels about you. And
I appreciate about you.
To me, I appreciated the self-assessment. I appreciated our texting that led to a phone call, and we covered it all. So ultimately, and there's some super chats too that
I told Bobby, Bobby's probably stumbling over his words. I gave you a tall task. I told Bobby to try not to show me too much compassion, because like like if there's anything that will get me emotional, it's not like arguing or anything, but like the way people like gifted each other memberships today, like that hits me more. Like I don't usually like get teary-eyed over tough stuff because like my mind is like work through it. But the moment you show me compassion, or the moment like the chat were to show me compassion, then like I'll get emotional. So I can't even look. And so I'm sure that's why you're stumbling a little bit. I said to you, I was like, don't show me too much compassion because then I'm going to get emotional. I just want to dole out my apologies, take it on the chin, and don't show me compassion because then that'll just make me emotional, which I don't want to be.
I honestly don't even know what to say because I'm under strict guidelines here. You and I have had our in-depth conversations. I think that's all I'll say.
Yeah.
And we're fine, and always will be. That's the plan. We're going to continue grinding in this channel, continue our debate format. I do think that we've learned a lot about each other, a lot about this show, a lot about the potential of this show, and a lot about the debate format itself when we're in that mode. And so there will continue to be more, which is why I appreciate your self-assessment. So
appreciate it. There you go.
Audio only. I'm zipped.
Let's wrap this up. Let's wrap it up.
Get to some super chats first, though.
You're not out of this yet.
You're not out of the woods yet here. Samuel says,
do I still get to call you slippery little sucker? Because I'm seeing that one come through. And you guys know what movie that is, right? Did you know what I was? It's from Pretty Woman.
Oh, yeah.
When Julia Roberts, doesn't know how to open the oyster, and then she flicks it out, and like a waiter kind of grabs it or whatever, and she's like, slippery little suckers. So I've always said that since then. So that's where that came from.
People appreciated that one. I know that.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Sam just with some feedback, Sarah, you can't debate if Bobby can't talk.
Yep.
Dre Dog, I'll let you take this one.
No, I'm not reading these.
Well, I don't know what this one is, but Sarah, don't play.
But shout out to the accountability.
Shout out to the accountability.
Oh, he's saying that I don't play, but shout out to the accountability. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. I'll read this one for you. Asmodeus says, Sarah, we love you. It'll take much more for us to dip on a day that he divvied out channel memberships. Thank you, Asmodeus, as always. Draydog679 says, damn, Bobby, Rogers got my girl Sarah up in arms. LOL. That was the spirit of the debate, wasn't it? It was all about Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And the AFC North. Oh, you know how it's gonna go. They're coming in now. Elwood's just making his case be. Hey, here's the funny part.
Yeah.
On a day where I felt pretty darn good about where I was in the debate, you felt good about the debate. Things went south. There have been times in the past where I'm like, damn, I just got clapped in that debate. I felt good coming off this debate.
Yeah, good.
South. I'm like, wait a second. What's going on here? Here's another one, Sarah.
No, yeah. You had it built up, Sarah. It's okay. Bobby was a good sport. Indeed, you were.
Look, it'll be 3 years this July. I really have to be careful with what I say here to make sure that you stay in a good solid standing over there. But I really am tripping because I don't, me. I'm going to quickly start reflecting. That's what I do. But late July will be 3 years, and if you would have told us then what we are now, I think we both would have been overjoyed with what this has been built into, the joy that it's brought to our lives, the flexibility that it's brought to our lives, and we don't feel like we're anywhere close to our ceiling, so much so we're potentially in the process of bringing on our first part-time editor. So, it's just, it's going to have to be really, really, really ugly to break this up. And I feel pretty confident about that. And I appreciate your sentiments. And I'll finish things off here with our super chats. Olu's making sure now that there's apparently a poll being taken. He's going Team Sarah. It happens. Nice accountability. Elwood says it's all love. And that it is.
Well, the funny thing is like we're Team Vault, right? Like we're Team Vault for sure. We definitely see things a little bit differently sometimes, but yeah.
Let me just throw this out there because I don't think
still have to hit our debate groove. I think us debating is a good thing, right? I think you being more passionate is a good thing for sure. Like, I feel like the chat is called for that, and I think you could too. Like, I don't ever want you to, like, out of being nice, not give your opinion. But then when you amp it up a little bit, I got to remember to keep it down. So I feel like, because I was already up here, we're just trying to get you to meet or at least come close, right? And so I don't need to go any higher. So I just feel like we've been trying to be more open about our disagreements and debate more. And I feel like we're still hitting our groove for sure, at least on my end after yesterday.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Stray Dog says, Sarah, we love your passion. Y'all are amazing. And I'll just peel back the curtain quickly because I don't think you did or you would. You're under the weather. You're a mother of four. You got a lot going on. So look, when you're full-time job, I'm just talking about us in general though.
Okay.
You know, when your full-time job is in front of the camera, and I think this is probably why over the years I've become such an oversharer. It's tough not to wear your heart on your sleeve a lot of times.
Yeah.
I really do mean that. I don't love oversharing. I think it's nice to have a certain level of community feel, especially when you live alone, you work by yourself all day long, no family in town. Like, it's nice to have that level of community. But it's also really hard to just, when you're an emotional person, it's hard not to wear your emotions on your sleeve. So, if something's going on in my life, you guys are probably going to know about it. And that just so happened to a certain extent for you over the last 24 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I just think more than anything, like I told you, like, there wasn't any real emotion on my end. That's, but nobody will ever understand that because it definitely looked like one. But I literally never felt anger. But when like you were saying, you went to go get a screenshot, for like the thumbnail, and you're like, I couldn't really find one, where I wasn't angry. And I watched it and I was like, holy crap, like I look like I'm angry, but I never was. That's the funny thing, is I let it loose because I wasn't angry. I was more like, and that's why I came across as arrogant, like, oh, I won, oh, this, oh, that, because it was like an attempt to be playful. That's the funny thing, is I was just so far out of the realm of what was actually landing. Like, I was just like not seeing it at all in the moment, for sure. So yeah, it's crazy.
Oh,
but to your point, like, that we're on camera so much, it's like it doesn't matter. Like, at noon, no matter what has just happened in your day, no matter like how you're feeling about your past performance, like it doesn't matter. You got to be ready. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what just happened. It doesn't matter that you're under the weather. It doesn't matter what your kids are going through. It doesn't matter. Like, at noon, you got to be ready. You got to be ready. And this is what I didn't want to have happen. So we got to cut it. We got to cut it.
All right. That we will. Thank you for being my partner. Thank you for the apology. And thank you for the message that you sent everybody today. Sean Coles became a channel member here within the last couple months. Now you're going to get me going. It's really time to go. It's a Friday, people. Sean, thank you for your channel membership. Everybody that gifted memberships today, you guys are incredible. Everybody that chimes in and is with us on a daily basis, we appreciate you. Partner, you're the best. We'll catch up more in our post-show meeting. Thanks to all of you for being here. Please like the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. We will catch up with you on Monday, if not before. Rookie minicamp will be underway this weekend, so there'll be plenty of content. John Harbaugh and others will be at the podium come Sunday, so we expect a busy show on Monday and many more guests, including a Cincinnati perspective from Kelsey Conway coming up next week. For Sarah Ellison, I'm Bobby Trossett signing off from this one. Have an awesome weekend, guys. We'll talk to you soon. And as always, thanks for